Welcome to episode 2 of the Trackside Girls podcast. We kind of realized in our re-recording of the last episode, we did not introduce ourselves. So, I am Sydney. I am the designated Formula One enthusiast.
I am Molly. I'm Lakota.
We're going to talk about NASCAR first because it was an eventful weekend. So first, we'll start off with the non-Chicago. So, did you know Kevin Harvick has a golf cart dealership? Because I didn't.
I didn't know that until I was looking at that, and I'm like, Kevin Harvick, what?
And it just opened.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the driver Mason Massey, and oh my gosh, I'm totally gonna butcher this. Rayum Brothers Racing, have parted ways, so Mason will no longer be driving for them in the Xfinity Series. Did you guys see what other news came out?
Yeah, Bracket's new baby.
This is his third kid. He has 2 girls.
It's their baby's due in November though. So that's that. Oh yeah, Richard Petty turns 86.
He posted I don't know where I saw, I think it was actually somebody on my Facebook that has met him before, and they posted their picture with him.
I didn't know it was his birthday until I was listening to NASCAR radio and they told him happy birthday.
Chicago. It was very, very eventful. Not even in the race, just in practice and qualifying. There were quite a few people that kind of
Likes the tire barrier.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, in practice and qualifying, did they go into the tire barrier?
No, it actually wasn't even the tire barrier. It was just straight into the wall. The race was a tire barrier though, but practice and qualifying, it was just the wall.
So for Xfinity, the two major people I saw were Sam Mayer and Sheldon Creed. Which those are two, I would say, obviously Sheldon Creed, because how far he's gotten in the past playoffs. But also I feel like Sam Mayer's a higher up there on the list of playoff contenders.
Yeah, he is.
Now in Cup, my boy Austin Cindric wrecked twice. I don't ever want to speak about that ever again.
No, that's the end of that conversation right there.
There were 3, right? 3 really big wrecks, and
3.
And it was Ricky Stenhouse, Chase Elliott, and Kevin Harvick.
Both Chase Elliott and Ricky Stenhouse hit the same part of the wall.
Yeah, the same spot. Harvick's, I don't even know what happened. It's like he just slid and turned sideways. And then Corey LaJoie just came up behind him and then caught everybody up.
That was during the race.
That was during the race.
Yeah, we're talking about just practice qualifying.
I didn't watch qualifying because I was sleeping.
You missed your boy trying to stay up with SVG and he crashed.
Yeah.
But still, I don't remember exactly Harvick's crash, but Ricky Stenhouse and Chase Elliott, those were some really big hits. SVG, Shane Von Gisbergen, topped the charts in practice. Fastest in practice. Jensen Button, 3rd in practice. Apparently he compared Chicago to Singapore driving in Formula One. and he said that Chicago was dry or was harder than Singapore, which really surprised me from like what I've heard about Singapore. During the Xfinity race, I was hoping Justin Marks would have his moment. But 5 laps in, he blows an engine.
That moment came to an end on lap 5 of an engine blown. I mean, he was doing solid.
Yeah.
Until that happened. So.
It's very unfortunate.
Very, very unfortunate.
We know the Xfinity race, it red flagged because of lightning, or so-called lightning. Then delayed, then postponed to the morning of the Cup race, then delayed again, and then finally they called it, and they weren't even halfway.
They were 2 lap shorts of halfway.
It was 2 laps?
Yeah.
It
was 2 laps short.
Oh my, I thought it was, okay.
But I know everybody's mad because they did not want, some people didn't want Cole Custer to win at all. Like, Twitter was so mad at NASCAR about it, and I'm like, I don't know what you want. I don't know.
I'm sorry,
but I know
Stone
we're
Cold.
mad. Yeah, I know that people are so mad.
It's like Stone Cold is back in the Xfinity series, okay? The Cup race was even more eventful. It got delayed as well, and even had to be shortened by 25 laps because there's no street lights, or like no lights for the track, so they can't race in the dark. So it went down to 75 laps instead of 100. Our good old buddy Kyle Busch went under the tire barrier. I think he was the first one to do it, I believe.
Yeah, he was.
Tyler Reddick.
Noah.
Yep.
And then Eric Jones, Brad, and Noah.
Big rip to the Noah Gragson fans out there.
You know, that was very unfortunate. He really liked the tire barrier this race.
4 times.
Yeah, he really liked it.
The track turned into a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you how many cars were involved in that.
I think literally every single one of them.
But it started with William Byron getting into the tire barrier before the turn. Kevin Harvick seeing him overcorrecting and spinning a little bit, like the back end got out. And then Corey LaJoie into him and spun both of them.
And then they just held it up at that point, and everybody had to come to a complete stop. That was a train wreck. Yeah, it was just a parking lot of cars.
The pictures are so funny, to be honest.
I can already imagine how many people are going to make memes out of it.
I've already seen them. With how, like, wide that track is, I knew something like that was going to happen.
Oh, yeah. There was no way there wasn't anything. You knew something big was going to happen, honestly. Just probably not the parking lot of cars happening.
Actually, I don't even know where Denny Hamlin finished. But Denny Hamlin took pole for the first ever NASCAR street race.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Cole finished where he started. Did you guys see? It was up against the pit boxes. It was 5.5 inches of water.
It was a lot.
I saw that they had a stack of tires, and it was pretty much covering up one whole tire.
Denny ended up finishing 11th in the race.
That's tough.
right outside the top 10.
I actually saw, like, if you weren't weighing things down, like the stack of tires, a single tire was floating.
Oh, yeah, Noah's tires started floating.
I saw the Trackhouse crew had a boat race. They made
Oh,
out of water bottles
Yeah.
and they had a boat race.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, that's great. I know.
It was kind of funny.
I know some of the guys on that crew. That sounds very on brand for them.
Did you see that some of them started playing like actually in the water?
Mhm.
I saw Paul Swan, with no shoes on, his dog's completely out, walking through the rain. It was funny. Austin Dillon posted it.
Oh my gosh.
The first ever street race came to an end. 3-time Supercar Champion Shane von Gisbergen won the race. Shane's a really talented driver. Like, I'm not trying to breeze over that fact. But also, apparently, Cup cars are really, really, really similar to V8 supercars, which is how Shane got, like, so quickly acclimated with the Cup car. Because he's only been in the Cup car once before Chicago, and they let him run some laps at the Roval.
He was really fast, honestly. No one could beat him. No one really could. He was pretty fast.
He's the first person in his Cup debut in 60 years to win his first Cup debut.
You know,
Honestly, so crazy though.
the NASCAR drivers kind of got schooled by him, to be honest.
It's the fact that they all know because they all were like, we got murdered by him pretty much.
So, Austin Cindric, in his post-race interview, said that there are 2 people that he thought could come over into NASCAR on their first debut, on their debut, and win the race and beat everybody, and SVG was one of them.
I saw his interview.
He had the biggest smile on his face, to be honest. Which, okay, him finishing 6th is a really big accomplishment for how the past weeks have been going.
Honestly, yeah.
As an Austin-centric fan, we were struggling. Speaking of Austin-centric, he was playing bartender for a Keystone Light event in Chicago before the race weekend.
I saw that.
Normally, NASCAR drivers, you don't really see them doing a track walk like you would in Formula One.
Mhm.
But they became bougie in Chicago.
Riding on those scooters. But let me tell you what, those scooters are actually really fun though.
I mean, you guys got to see 2 of your favorites in the Xfinity series riding together.
Good old time, Sammy. So funny though.
Oh wait, sorry, Kai's not in the Xfinity series anymore.
No. It was Ty and Sammy. It was Cup and an Xfinity driver. The two besties. That was pretty funny though. Like, the video just cracks me up every time I watch it. I mean, Ty literally just like jumps on the back of Sammy's scooter, and Sammy's like, alright, and then just zooms off, and I'm like, okay. It's so funny though.
The picture Penske posted of Ryan Blaney
Holding the Duncan cup.
I saw somebody say that picture Ryan Blaney was giving college boy late for class because he wanted Duncan. The outfit, the crew neck that had the like college style logo.
Oh yeah, for sure. Did you see somebody edited the photo though, and they put a body armor? They put a body armor instead of the Duncan cup.
You know what? Promo.
Yeah, it's because they said that he was holding the wrong thing, but I was like, Oh well.
Manifesting a Duncan sponsorship. So, as Chicago comes to an end, we look forward to Atlanta, where all three of us will be together in one place. And for Atlanta, for the Xfinity race, this is actually very exciting. Greg Van Alst, ARCA driver, is making his Xfinity debut with Alpha Prime. Greg Van Alst won the ARCA race earlier this year at Daytona, and he was over the moon. News just came out. In the Cup Series,
Cole Custer is running in the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing. Holy cow, that's a handful.
he won the Chicago Street Race, so now he's going to be back in the Cup Series for a race. It was kind of eventful in IndyCar this past weekend. They raced in Mid-Ohio. I realized last podcast I got mixed up. Trucks are racing this weekend at Mid-Ohio, not last weekend. If anybody caught that last episode. There was something really big that happened during, I believe it was practice. Simon Pagenaud flipped. And
I saw that crash. It was awful.
it was a big one. Luckily, he walked away from it and, didn't need any help. But he did have to go to the Info Care Center, and he was evaluated and was not cleared to race on Sunday. So Connor Daly got the call and was like, hey, we need you over here.
We need you.
And I can't remember exactly where he finished, but just that opportunity was big for Connor Daly. All of my Pato girlies out there saw that he spun off during qualifying. But ultimately, Colton Herta got pole. Alex Palou won at Mid-Ohio. Did you know he only has 7 career wins? Or now 8?
Wow.
I genuinely thought that he was out there, winning them left and right because of how much I've heard his name. But no. In Indy Next, which is basically the Xfinity series of NASCAR or the Formula 2, Jamie Chadwick, who is associated with Williams. I can't remember if she's specifically a Williams driver, but she got 10th place in the Indy Next race. She was the highest scoring female in Indy Next in the race. So that's pretty cool to see. Bridging. Williams. Formula 1. Things. We'll talk about the non-race related, so off track, okay? So, you got Lando.jpg. I'm so glad he revived this account. And there is a video of Lando using his Leica camera to take pictures of Oscar. I can't wait to see those photos. As someone who is both a Lando and an Oscar fan, and knowing Lando's been taking actually really good pictures of people, listen. So, this season is really big for Toto Wolff, the team principal of, I'm about to say this full thing, Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula 1 team. Try to say that 10 times fast.
Hard pass.
Yep.
Yes.
But he has been at Mercedes for 10 years.
Wow.
Now, a more serious topic. Delano Van Toff passed away this past weekend at Spa. He was 18, and he crashed in the same corner that Antoine Hubert crashed in, and this makes the second driver in the past 5 years who has died at Spa in that corner. And it's unfortunate to see young lives like this be taken away. And I've seen everybody's comments like he was doing what he loved, and I get that, but a lot of people don't realize how scary and dangerous that like racing is. Like he went to the track that day like looking forward to a race, and he didn't go home.
I saw the accident. Somebody posted on TikTok. And it was probably the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I haven't seen the video, but from what I've read, he had turned sideways and was stopped, and another driver couldn't stop and ran into him, and the car, Delano's car, split in half. And somebody posted a picture of the conditions on track, wondering why they didn't red flag it when, if they won't let Formula One drivers, the best in the world, drive in conditions like that, why would they let 17 and 18-year-olds? It could have easily been prevented. Okay. Just had to get serious there for a minute. Okay. A more uplifting and happier note. In one of Pierre's post-race interviews, he said that he was going to try and get onto the set of Deadpool 4. Because if you guys don't know, Ryan Reynolds now has a 24% stake in Alpine. So, you know what? Might see a Pierre Gasly cameo. Honestly, would love to see that. Speaking of something that's funny, have you guys ever seen Lance Stroll's interviews after the race?
I've seen parts.
They are so funny. The attitude and sass that he gives the interviewers, hilarious. He is so underrated. Oh my gosh. Bestie Lando, his esports team, Team Quadrant, competed in the Halo Championship and finished 3rd overall. That is incredible. Like,
Killer.
it's like so proud of those guys. Do you guys remember whenever I was talking last episode about Danny Rick and Nick DeVries being replaced, right? There's a rumor that Liam Lawson could potentially replace Nick mid-season. Liam Lawson is another Red Bull driver. And he's pretty good. So we'll be looking into that, because Nick didn't do so well in Austria. So woohoo! We started off this segment with Williams, like the little bridge, right? Williams is celebrating their 800th Grand Prix.
That is bizarre.
That's so many.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so currently Williams is, like, the past couple years, Williams has been, like, the low of the low out of the teams, okay? But Williams used to be the one fighting for championships. It's hard to believe, like, now they're trying to get better. Like, you can see that with Alex Albon. He's doing an amazing job this season. There's quite a few winners and drivers I want to point out from the weekend in Austria. Max got his 4th consecutive pole. My boy. So Max won in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. Home track. Or not his home track, but the team's home track. It was his 5th win in a row. He now has 42 wins, surpassing Senna. And half of those wins have come in the past 14 months. That's insane.
Yeah.
What? That is crazy.
And then the 7 of the 9 races that they've ran this season have been won by him.
He's really good, so...
Oh, and you know what? Ever since he won in Miami and got out of the car and pointed at the number 1 on his car, he's been undefeated. Sorry. Okay, look, I love my boy so much. Another person who was on the podium that we're all a fan of, Charles Leclerc. He got the 800th podium for Ferrari in Formula 1.
That's my boy right there.
He's getting there, rising back to the top.
I have to say, him and Carlos did really good this race.
I agree.
For sure.
I will say, since we're on the topic of Carlos, Ferrari kind of screwed him on that pit.
Oh yeah, they did.
Just saying.
Yeah, they did.
In the lower ranks of Formula, we have Sophia Florsch. I don't know how to exactly say her name, but she's from the Alpine Driver Academy, and she is the first female to get points in Formula 3.
Holy cow. That's actually impressive.
Yeah.
Big win for women in motorsports. My boy, Frederick Vesti, got P3 and F2 at the Red Bull Ring. My boy on the podium. He's so great. If you guys, his TikToks, he's starting to become one of the TikTok icons. He's posting a lot more. The F3 winner in Austria, Paul Aaron. He is, I don't know if he's part of Prima anymore, but he was involved in a lot of their content. And then also he is a Mercedes, academy driver. So, big. I'm sorry, I love Paul. He's so funny. If you guys haven't watched any of the Prima videos with him in it, highly recommend.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Now, the penalties.
There was a lot.
Just during qualifying, 47 lap times got deleted. And most of them were for turns 9 and 10. That's insane. That's over half of the race. Them driving around the track for the race. Half of those laps, gone. I didn't write down who got penalties after the race, which I should have, because I'm pretty sure this list was even more. Which actually, so I'm gonna name off the guys who got black and white flags, which is basically your warning for track limits. Hamilton, Sainz, Perez, Gasly, Albon, Stroll, Magnussen, and Sargent. They all had black and white flags throughout that were confirmed during the race. And then the penalties during the race, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Sainz, Albon, Gasly, Sargent, and Magnussen. And then Aston Martin contested with the FIA after the race and got the FIA to go back and double check to see if anybody else also got track limits. And they did. Carlos actually got an even heavier sentence, so he dropped from 4th to 6th, which moved Lando Norris into P4.
Oh, Lando.
Aside from track limit penalties, there were, I want to say 2 other penalties that drivers got that were not for track limits. One of those was Alpine did a unsafe pit release, and Esteban Ocon comes out of his stall and almost hits Logan Sargent. It was like real close. Like, they were side by side going down the pit lane.
I saw the video on TikTok.
Like, that would have been terrifying if I was Logan. That's really big on Alpine's pit crew. They should have been watching for that. But because of that, Esteban Ocon got a 5-second penalty for the unsafe release during the race. Kevin Magnussen, on his 150th Grand Prix, gets pushed into the gravel by Nick DeVries.
Yeah.
But not all is lost for Kevin, because Nick DeVries got a 5-second penalty!
I like half of the grid who got a 5-second penalty.
Yeah. Like, it came out like hours after the race, after the FIA went back through and checked track limits and stuff. It's like, I think there was like, I want to say about 7, maybe a little less, drivers who got their position changed.
It was a domino effect. It was just going up and down the entire time.
Yes. 9 drivers with penalties. Like I said, that was before they came out with the release. But during the race, 9 drivers got penalties. It was a rough one in Austria, okay? But you know who didn't get a penalty? George Russell. Good ol'
Georgie boy.
Georgie boy.
Georgie boy.
With those penalties, Yuki Tsunoda racked up 3 5-second penalties. He got 7 strikes against him for track limits. That was rough for him. You know who did get a penalty? Mr. Lando Norris.
The boy.
I mentioned it earlier. K-Mag, 150th Grand Prix. Not so good for his race. He started 19th, finished 18th.
Wow. Improvement.
He had it rough, especially fighting with Nick DeVries. was a rough one. But you guys saw some improvements because Ferrari and McLaren brought their upgrades early.
They did.
Hmm.
I have to say, I was pretty impressed.
The difference? Lando's car is the only one with the upgrades. Oscar's car didn't have them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know I can't remember where Oscar finished, but don't be attacking my boy, okay? He didn't have the same upgrades as Lando. It was rough for Mercedes in the sprint, sprint shootout. They didn't qualify that well.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they started 15th or lower on the grid for the sprint. But you know who did get into Q3 and during the sprint? Oh, shootout? The Haas cars. Honestly, kind of surprised. But I've met the Haas guys. They are so funny. I've had a full conversation with Nico Hulkenberg. And Gunther Steiner. Best entertainment out there, okay? He needs to be a stand-up comedian. For the race, the two that were fighting, Kevin and Nick, started from the pit lane. So, Kevin in his 150th start, that was a big that was a big punch to his race, starting from the pit lane. Speaking of Haas, Nico Hulkenberg ran over a tire in his pit stop. Car came off the ground. Like, the pit crew did not move the loose tire away from the car enough for him to pull out, and caught the tire, went up over the tire. His car was like on.
Somebody posted a picture of it, and I was like, what the heck is happening here? Because it's like blurry, but you can clearly see that his car is like not on the ground as it should be. It's just like flying in the air. That's what it looked like.
Something new for the Formula 2 races. They've added a heart rate monitor of the drivers. These 18 to 23-year-old, I'm just gonna refer to them as boys.
As boys.
These young boys now have a heart rate monitor on them. Don't know how that's gonna go, but because I didn't get to watch the Formula 2 race. Anyway, back to events of the race. There was a safety car, first lap, for Yuki going into the gravel. Like I said, rough for Haas because Nico Hulkenberg had to retire because he had no power, which is very unfortunate. Actually, there was only, I want to say there was only 2 safety cars. No, there might have been 3. There might have been 3. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, there was a virtual safety car at lap 15 that screwed over Lance Stroll because Lance was in the pit lane. The virtual safety car ended. Either way, it screwed over Lance Stroll because he was still in the pit lane. Over the radio, during the race, Lewis Hamilton kept getting called out for track limits, and over his radio, he told his engineers, or whoever was on the pit wall for Mercedes, that his car won't turn. Remember that, because that's going to be very important on a note that I mention in a minute.
Noted.
Kevin gets into even more trouble because both Oscar and Kevin make contact because they stack up behind a couple drivers coming around a turn. And Oscar breaks his front wing. But you know what? Us McLaren fans are screaming for a good reason too. because Lando Norris pulled an amazing pass on Lewis Hamilton. The group chat saw me freaking out about that. All caps.
Oh, okay.
All caps. Like, what exactly did I say? I said like, did I say his full name? Did I say like Lando Norris passes Lewis Hamilton, or all caps? And then I was like, oh my god, a podium might be possible. But
He was so close, yet so far.
so close, yet so far.
Oh man, my heart was racing. I was hoping nothing was gonna happen to him.
So Lando always runs really well at Austria. He's gotten a podium at Austria before. And I was really hoping to repeat. That would have been fantastic. I desperately want a Lando podium because he has the best champagne spray.
Dude, it's wild.
It's
It's so crazy.
I saw SVG on the post-race coverage of the NASCAR race. He and his crew chief did this. They obviously didn't do it as eccentric as Lando does it, but that's what they did. Was they hit it on the stage and did the same thing.
I saw a picture of that and I'm like, there's so much champagne everywhere.
Honestly, good news for Williams, because Logan Sargent was running in the points during the race. Our hometown boy, USA, USA.
USA.
Our representative in the Formula One World Championship was running in the points.
Very proud, very proud.
And he finished the highest he's ever finished so far this season. Like, before this race, I don't think he's ever finished higher than 17th. And I believe he finished 13th, I want to say. But like, you also have to take into account. Actually, he didn't move. After the penalties, he didn't move. He was still 13th at the end of the race. I mentioned earlier about how Lewis Hamilton said the car won't turn. He was complaining the entire race. So, Toto Wolff got fed up with it. Came on the radio and goes, Lewis, we know the car is bad. Just drive it. And it was broadcasted all over the feed. That was hilarious. I straight up, like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, okay, you can see Toto, like, he's kind of sassy, you know, you see the videos of him, right? but I did not expect him to say that to Lewis. Like, Lewis is his golden child.
True facts.
Haas finished 19th and 20th. Struggles for them after such a good sprint qualifying. That brings us, gonna round out the race. Lando Norris, driver of the day.
His radio was so cute.
It was.
When he said,
Okay, so what I thought was funny is his response to, I guess it was his race engineer. He was like, oh yeah, driver of the day, by the way. And then it goes, aw, that's cute. It's because there's so many papaya fans here. And starts laughing.
yeah.
Because of the sea of orange for Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
That wasn't for me, but But there you go.
That
There's
was perfect timing.
there's my laugh track, guys. So in post-race interviews, an interviewer asks Lewis Hamilton about how he was complaining during the race about how the car wouldn't turn. In Lewis's interview, he straight up denies that he said anything was wrong about the car. That was us.
A boy on the radio. They played it, and you said your car wasn't turning. But okay, whatever. I guess float your boat, liar.
Something ain't mathin' right here.
Yeah, the math
Something
ain't
ain't adding up right.
Yeah, math is not mathing.
With the stewards, they handed out a lot of penalties, a lot of warnings. Toto Wolff actually thinks that the stewards were just doing their job and weren't harsh on any of the penalties they handed out, which is surprising because his own driver got a penalty. And normally, whenever something happens to him, he's
off. He's trying to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that from watching Drive to Survive.
That's your intro into trying to figure out this world.
I gotta say, I think I'm figuring it out very quickly.
That finishes out for Formula One. Now, we are filming this on a Monday, so there might be things during the week or at the earlier part of the week that we did not get in this week's episode. But it's because, like we said in the beginning of the episode, the three of us are going to be filming our podcast at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
Both of them are traveling to camp in the infield, which is pretty sick.
Well, they also decided at the last minute to come.
That was courtesy of me. I want to go to Atlanta, so then I had to text Molly, and I'm like, hey, can I come to Atlanta?
But yeah, special episode with all of us together, which actually is probably might not be an actual episode where we sit and talk like we have done. It might just be more vlog style, which I still believe will be really fun, because if we get to interact with the drivers as much as I'm thinking we will, because Atlanta's usually a pretty good one, it's gonna be fun. We gotta come up with some stuff to ask drivers so we can get them on the podcast.
We gotta ask them good questions, not like the basic questions, because I feel like they're so tired of basic questions. The hard thing is like, what questions to even ask them though? That aren't the most basic questions you have ever heard.
Oh, and Lakota's tiny microphone's gonna be making an appearance.
Yeah, it's been charging the entire time, but I'll bring the charger. I'll definitely bring it though, because I feel like it'll just be the best thing ever.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
The funny thing is, have you guys seen Noah with the tiny mic?
What? Oh, nope. What if one of the drivers starts running away with our?
Because the only person that I could think would actually do that would be Carson, but Carson won't be there.
Oh, that's the kind of upsetting thing about
going to
this. Yeah.
Yeah. The only person I feel like the only person that would do that would be Carson, but Carson won't be there because they'll be
Mid-Ohio.
In Mid-Ohio.
Dang, I was really hoping
Next time we'll see Carson is in Kansas.
That's true. In Kansas, we'll see Carson.
Yeah, but I won't.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But anyway, this was our second episode of the Trackside Girls. Catch us.
Smashed it.
Yeah.
Catch us next week. Actually, Trackside.
Yeah.
Peace out, guys. At Atlanta.
at Atlanta.
Leto.